because it feels very authentic and true to like an emotional journey that I can track. So the way that I react to a situation, you know, instead of doing like exactly what's on the page, if she's gonna react this way.
Themes of domestic violence.
What I did know is that the fans of the book were passionate, and there were so many real-life Lily Blooms who had read this book.
What if I told you one of the biggest celebrity lawsuits in Hollywood history, a case that had the whole internet divided, that dragged in Ryan Reynolds, Taylor Swift, and nearly went to a full jury trial, just vanished overnight, no verdict, no courtroom showdown, no winner was announced, just gone. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were literally days away from sitting across from each other in a federal courtroom in New York. The lawyers were ready. Witnesses were lined up. The world was watching. And then, right before the cameras could roll, someone blinked. But here's the part nobody is talking about. Both sides are claiming they won. So who actually came out on top? And what are they desperately trying to hide inside that sealed settlement? Stick with me, because this story gets darker before it gets clearer. And before I break this whole thing down, if you're already hooked, just tap that like button real quick. It literally takes 1 second and it helps this channel more than you know. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so it's summer 2024. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are promoting their movie It Ends With Us, a romantic drama based on Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel. It should have been a feel-good press tour. Instead, it became one of the messiest celebrity implosions we've seen in years. Blake showed up to every interview full glam, laughing, joking around with co-stars. Baldoni was barely acknowledged. The energy was off. The internet noticed immediately, and they weren't kind to Blake at first. People said she seemed tone-deaf, out of touch, promoting cocktails and fashion while the film dealt with domestic abuse. But then, December 2024, the New York Times dropped a bombshell report. Blake Lively had filed a formal complaint with the California Civil Rights Department accusing Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment on set. Not just awkward behavior. We're talking allegations of him sharing explicit images, creating a hostile work environment, and then, when she spoke up, allegedly hiring a PR crisis firm to quietly destroy her reputation online. That's when everything exploded. Blake didn't stop at a complaint. On December 31st, 2024, New Year's Eve, she filed a full civil lawsuit in federal court in New York. She named Baldoni, his production company Wayfarer Studios, and several others. She was seeking over $160 million in damages. Baldoni's team fired back immediately. His lawyer, Brian Friedman, called the allegations, and I'm quoting here, completely false, outrageous, and intentionally salacious. And then in January 2025, Baldoni countersued, not just Blake, but Ryan Reynolds too, and her publicist, for $400 million. His legal team claimed Blake had fabricated the harassment allegations, conspired with the New York Times to destroy him, and used her celebrity power to hijack the entire film. He also separately sued the New York Times for $250 million for libel. This wasn't just Hollywood beef anymore. This was a full-scale legal war. Now here's where it starts getting interesting, and where one side started losing ground fast. In June 2025, Judge Louis J. Lyman, the federal judge handling the case, threw out Baldoni's entire $400 million countersuit against Blake and Ryan Reynolds. Gone. Dismissed. The judge ruled that Baldoni's team had failed to prove that anyone, Blake, Ryan, or their publicist, had made statements they knew to be false. Without that, there's no defamation case. And the same day, his $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, also dismissed. Blake's legal team called it, and these are their words, total victory and a complete vindication. Baldoni's team said they'd keep fighting. But let's be real. Losing both major countersuits in one day is a massive blow. So with Baldoni's countersuits dead, Blake's original sexual harassment case was still very much alive, and it was heading to trial. The judge originally set the trial date for March 9th, 2026, but then in December 2025, it got pushed back to May 18th, 2026, because the judge had two criminal trials that took priority. In February 2026, both Blake and Baldoni showed up in person to court for a mediation session, their first time in the same building since everything went down. No settlement came out of that meeting. Baldoni's lawyer walked out of that courthouse and told reporters they were looking forward to trial. The world started preparing for the most watched celebrity court case since, honestly, maybe ever. Ryan Reynolds was going to testify. Taylor Swift's name was in the documents. This was going to be must-watch television. And then, just days before jury selection was set to begin, it all stopped. On May 4th, 2026, less than 2 weeks before trial, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni reached a private settlement. No trial, no testimony, no verdict. In a joint statement, both sides acknowledged that making It Ends With Us presented challenges and that Blake's concerns had been addressed. That's it. That's all we got. The financial terms, sealed, secret. We don't know how much money, if any, changed hands. And now, here's the part that should make your eyebrows go up. Both sides are claiming victory. Blake's team is staying quiet, which in Hollywood usually means they got what they wanted. But Baldoni's lawyer Friedman went on camera and said Baldoni and his business partner are ecstatic, that they are very pleased with where this ended up. So either both sides genuinely feel they won, or one of them is doing some serious spin control. The real question everyone is asking is, why settle now? They were this close to trial. What came out in discovery? The private evidence exchange between lawyers that scared someone enough to write a check and walk away? We may never know. And that silence, that's the most suspicious part of all. Here's my take. Settlements like this almost always mean at least one side had something to lose that was worse than losing the case publicly, whether that's damaging evidence, embarrassing communications, or something that could have gone viral in the worst possible way. Someone in that room decided the risk wasn't worth it. Blake walked in as the person making allegations. She leaves without ever having to prove them in court, but also without a public verdict. Baldoni walks away without being found guilty of anything, but also without the full vindication he said he wanted. It's a messy ending to a messy story. But honestly, for Hollywood, that's pretty on brand. So that's the full story, from the toxic press tour to the bombshell NYT report to dueling lawsuits worth over $500 million, all ending quietly with a sealed settlement 2 weeks before showtime. If you want me to do a deeper breakdown on what was actually in those court documents, the texts, the PR strategy, all of that, comment documents below and I'll make that video next. And if you're new here, subscribe. I cover celebrity drama, entertainment news, and the stories behind the headlines every single week. I'll see you in the next one.